It's a time for pick it from China. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in, because in this video we are going to take a close look at this custom replacement shell for Super Famicom. And then the question remains, is it any good? So there is a little bit of a problem with this shell already, that I've noticed that you need to do some soldering. But in the comments of the AliExpress page, some people even said like, hey, if you don't bother that it's not aligned, the power supply or the power supply connector, there is actually no reason to actually do all the soldering. So that's what we're going to be chit-chatting about, and is it really worth checking and replacing? Because this is my one chip and I'm curious if this is going to be an upgrade or a downgrade. But let's do a first unboxing. The kit includes everything, and yep, also the tools. So they're doing a great job when it comes to that. There we go. So we do have different colors that we can actually buy. I've bought the smoke translucent. So let's see, we're having a normal Phillips screwdriver and the special one for the special locking out screws inside the machine. So in here we're having the translucent smoke, and oh yeah, it looks absolutely cool. To be honest, I wish I went for the completely translucent. I love it, but again, it's more like a personal taste. But this is going to be very awesome. And finally, I have a very similar, similar situation like with my Sega Saturn and other systems. There is no stickers included, so you need to find these somewhere else. So in here we're finding the controller port, I'm guessing it is. That's interesting. Let's see if we need to do any, let's say, putting some parts over from the original, but it is quite complete. What you can just see over here, the LED, PCB and everything else. So that is nice. In here we're having the, this is the part that we need to solder. We do have two of them. I'm guessing they are both the same, or so far I can see. So we have two changes, but now I'm going to be using these because I want to see how it looks without, if it's really horrible, or can we live with the situation. The plastics for ejecting and some extra screws. Yeah, they're even having the original screws, or at least like similar ones. So that's great. So the first thing we're going to be doing is putting everything back together, getting my screwdriver. And let's grab my Super Nintendo and let's see to rip this thing apart. Yep. So let's start off with some screws in here and let's remove them, all of them. And let's see if this is going to be an interesting fun build, or is this going to be just one freaking nightmare. So let's remove all the screws. There we go. There is no difference between them, so we can just flip this open. Be very careful because of the ribbon cable in the inside. Of course, my controller port is moving with it. That is not what we want to. So over here, this is the case. I'm guessing I need to use some parts from the original. Oh, in here we're having the controller mechanism, the ribbon cable, and the connector over here. So there's nothing fancy. So if you need to do some soldering, what you need to do is remove the PCB, of course, like normal. But we're going to be needing a lot of more shenanigans, because we need to do a lot of screwing and a couple of screws out and having a desoldering of a lot of different parts. And that's the part I just want to skip to see how it actually looks. So this part can be removed. That's what we're going to be doing over here. And we're going to be removing the screw so we can disassemble the mainboard from the shell itself. Okay, so let's put it like that. They are saying that sometimes you do need to cut a couple of things away. So that's what we're going to be checking out later on. But so far there is no weird, let's say, craziness when it comes to the difference of these things. So what we need to do is removing the on and off switch. So let's get myself the second screwdriver. And let's remove this one first. Okay, let's put these screws in here for making it easier. Okay, so that's it. We can just leave it on here there. Next thing that we need to do is removing this particular Parker. And we're going to be leaving it there and there. So let's check out. Do I need to remove these? Yes, I need to remove the ones over here. I'm going to be putting them over there and there. And let's check it out. Okay, so I'm going to be leaving it both of the sides there. I'm going to be removing these screws over here. I think I also need to remove this. And we're going to be removing, let's see if I'm missing out a screw. Yep, there we are. Couldn't see because of the angle of the camera and the position I'm sitting. But I'm guessing these are all of them. And let's check it out. Let's be very careful with this. And the other thing we don't need to forget is removing the ribbon cable. But we can do that more easily if we're going to be lifting out the main board. We can just plug it out like that. So let's see if I have removed every single screw. So we needed to remove the couple of screws over there. There are 3 on the top. Next thing we're going to be doing is removing this piece of plastic because it's going to be replacing this, or it's going to be replaced by that translucent one. You can also use the original one if you want to. So next thing we need to pull out this bar, and then we can remove the unit itself with all of the screws and all the spring and everything else, and we can lift out this PCB. And like I mentioned before, what I wanted to do is remove this front part. I'm going to just very easy pull it out. So much more easier than having a weird angle. That's it. So this is the PCB of the Super Nintendo, and we're going to be doing this, putting this in the original case just for fun, just to see what actually happens. Does it fit? Or it's going to be soldering shenanigans. So then having the complete kit over here with a PCB and everything, even the LED, so we don't need to do any weird things over desoldering or whatsoever, but we're going to be using this. So we can just actually plug it in, and they were showing something of like removing this original piece over here and putting it with the double-sided tape and putting it in there and giving the same kind of configuration. So that's, I'm guessing, the thing that we can actually do is remove this over there, clean it up, and use this piece of metal like it is originally intended. Let's remove this, all this crap over here, and just going to be sticking it through the piece of metal and the hole and taping it, depending on if I want to put it like that or just want to use it like that. Let's clean it up, and we can just assemble it like the original console was intended to be. But let's chit chat about the shell. If you're going to be looking on the page you're selling, this thing, that certain model will have some modification needs to be done through the shell itself. So the best thing to do next is to basically plug this thing in just to see if it fits and how does it fit. So I'm just using the original gray part over here, and if you don't really mind, there's another way to actually use it, and you can just see it closes up perfectly, no soldering needed. So this is not going to be a problem. What I'm going to be doing, and this is just for fun, to see how does this piece fit and how will it align up. Maybe I'm not even going to be using this piece of plastic after all and just going to leave it as is, but that's something we're going to be checking out. But so far all the holes will align and everything seems to be looking just fine. Before we're going to be doing any assembly, let's get some part from the other shell part, because there's I think there's a piece of metal somewhere, for example over here, that we still need to remove. And of course using the original screws. Always be very gentle, particularly when you're looking at these massive screws that they're actually using in here, and the holes are very narrow, so it's highly possible if you're going to be putting too much force, you're going to be breaking it. So be always super careful with that. So what is kind of a fun fact, when you're looking at the chip over here, it just says Nintendo and Sony copyrighted. Okay. So maybe I am having a brain fart over here, but I think they actually know finally what they mean with, let's say, the connector need to be replaced. So what you can just see, I've removed the single screw over there, and you can have some movement, but this is stuck. So I am guessing that we need to do the desoldering with the simple reason that we cannot otherwise use this piece of plastic. So that's the question. Are we going to be doing the soldering shenanigans with only for this piece of plastic? Nope. Oh, and for the people who really wonder, is this actually in one chip? I bought it from a fellow collector, but yep, indeed. The SNSP CPU one chip 02. So that's nice. And also, it's always interesting to see what's underneath. And be very careful with those, let's say, caps. And there's no, let's say, damage. You can always do a double check, and of course we can remove these if you want to. Something we don't need to forget is this piece of metal that we need to remove, because this isn't implemented in the shell itself. So that is the first thing I'm going to be putting in there before doing the final assembly. And this is exactly what I mean when it comes to screwing it in. Let me show you up close. So these holes are very tight because it's a brand new case. So what you need to do is be very careful. Don't put too much force in it. So if you have doubts about the resistance, you can always go back over there and just double check if you're not breaking anything. You can see now it's basically tearing into the plastic. So that's good, that's good. You know, in the past, this sounds kind of weird. I can still remember that I was putting some grease between it. I would not recommend doing it. But again, go the way back. And do that a couple times. If you feel too much resistance, go back so, like that. Because if you're going to be putting too much force on this, it's highly possible that you're going to be like tearing it up and you're going to be cracking the plastic itself. You can see that it does have like a roll of resistance again. Let's do that. Oh, do that another time, another round, and that's it. Another thing I wanted to showcase regarding the front, it comes with an original ribbon cable, but I do get the idea that the fake or the reproduction is going to be slightly shorter, so this can be an issue. So I mentioned before that I removed this part, so I'm just going to be putting that on there, and let's see if we can put it back as it should be, because it's possible if it's going to be too tight I need to remove everything again. And let's check out how I need to do that. So what we need to do is putting it over there. Alright, so it needs to be very tight. So with the corner, not too much. Be very careful with the ribbon cable. And we're going to be putting it like it should be, like it originally was. Okay, so that is part 1. Next thing what we're going to be doing is grabbing the main board. Let's slide it in. You don't need a lot of force. If it's in, it's in. So that's it. Okay. I hate ribbon cables. So we're going to be putting in the main board, seeing if we have enough space for. Yep, there we go. Okay, that's perfect. So the ribbon cable, it's long enough, but you need to take note that you need to be making a sharp turn over here, otherwise it's highly possible it will not fit. Okay, piece of plastic needs to be in there. Okay, let's put the plastic on. Okay, and let's put this in this position, and let's get all of my screws, and let's put it back together. Oh, I'm almost messing it up. Yep, sometimes you do forget it, particularly when it's the first time. So there is this piece of metal, and we're going to be lifting it up very carefully. Okay, and we're going to be dropping it in there, next to the cover. For people who didn't see it, it's actually going to be here. Okay, so let's get my screws, and now I know for sure that everything is in place. Next thing I'm going to be doing is putting the on and off switch on its position there, getting some screws and putting it together, like I said before. But it's going to be even more of a challenge of these, let's say, normal silver colored, because they are so long. You just see that it's going to be taking a little bit longer time to get them in. Be careful, take your time. I can feel too much resistance going back. And the reason why, because then we're going to be getting rid of the residue of the plastic. And now you can just see that it goes in so much easier. But let's give you a nice up close what I meant with the screw, because now you can see it very clearly. You can see how it moves. If you're going to be putting too much force in it, I'm also going to be using a different screwdriver that is a little bit bigger, so I can get myself a little bit better grip. There we go. You can see that it goes in very deep over there. It's making its way down. I didn't do the soldering, and to be honest, indeed the guy from AliExpress was right. This doesn't really look that bad. Let me know in the comments what you think, or should I do all the soldering shenanigans and replace it with this piece of plastic? Only for that. But I think also when you're looking at a completely translucent, maybe that would be cool, because it's completely see-through. But for this smoke, nah. So when it comes to the top part, it's quite interesting to see that a lot of, let's say, things don't need to be disassembled, because most of the parts, like the locking mechanism, is implemented in the top shell. So they did a great job over there. So the only thing you need to do is having the control unit for eject button. That's it. That's the only thing that we need to put in the other part. Alright, so let's see. Let's put this last part back together. So what we needed to do is putting the row bar in here. Yes. Then of course we don't need to forget the spring itself. So let's put it over here. Let's put some tension under it. Oh man. And note to myself, I should have tried it before recording, but I'm like this guy, I just want to showcase how I sometimes struggle with these freaking things. So let's see, let's be very gentle with this. Let's put this thing in. Yeah, there we go. No, doesn't work the first time. There we go, come up. Come up, come up. See me struggle. Ha, I know how it's done. Okay, so I've been checking. So there is a tiny hole over here where you need to put the spring. So put everything in place so that everything is in the right position. Next thing you need to do is putting just, I was just saying, putting this in the pin over here. Just lock it. Putting it in position, that's it. Just put some tension on the spring and that's it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, yeah. Okay, so let's put it back together. Everything should be like it's supposed to be. Make sure that the on-off switch is in the right position, and then it's going to be. Okay, that's it. So we can turn it around. We can put in the screws, not the original ones. We're going to be having a couple of other ones that were somewhere in this kit. Where it is? Oh, there we go. And now we can actually do the assembly. Plug it in and let's see if the system still works. I've tested it before, it did work, so that's one thing. And yeah, let's put these screws in there. Same story, be very careful for the first time. Let's put it in a certain hole. Can't even get in a spare one, that's kind of cool. And if you want to, I think you cannot even use, can I use it in that? You cannot use it in that, I just wanted to see if it fits in there. Okay, so ready to go. The game has been implemented, so let's power it on. And there we go. Another thing we need to check out if the controller port seems to be working, and there is no problem there. Everything seems to be working just fine. So I can just enjoy myself some F-Zero. Man, this is absolutely great. Especially for the CRT gamer on us. I connected my Philips CRT on the old school Super NES. Man, I do realize that I need to clean up this controller. The D-pad feels awful, including the A, B, and X, Y buttons. Man, this soundtrack sounds so awesome. Desert Strike, yeah man, that's absolutely awesome. There are so many cool hidden gems on this system. Super NES, but also the Sega Genesis. Pick it up, let's get to the chopper. Lamborghini Challenge was one of the games I've played so much. Wasn't there even like a multi-game card out of there that was even containing this game? Some smaller multi-game cards like a 4-1 or a 3-1. However, it was such a cool game. Of course, there were similar racing games, but I don't know, man. This particular game, the soundtracks, didn't really care about it. It was a Lamborghini itself, but the turbo function, that makes it really cool. Get him some nice rider vibes over here. And of course, you can bet against your rival, win money, upgrade your car, and just had a lot of fun, man. But there is also something else that maybe I didn't mention before, and this is the way how the insert slot for the cartridges is. I wouldn't say it makes it region-free, but there is a convenient part about this. So having, of course, a different kind of US cartridges, like this multi-game card, you can just slide it in without any converter or craziness. And in this way, we can just actually enjoy yourselves some Super NES. And let's switch to the 50 Hz mode. That looks so much better. And this way we can just enjoy yourself multi-game cards. If you're having a PAL system, we could just insert them through the normal cartridge slot. No converter needed whatsoever. So that's absolutely great. It's still PAL. But of course, out of the box, this thing is not region free. So I think the more convenient thing is that you're having a multi-game card like I've shown you before. Those will work. But also depending what kind of files they're actually using on this multi-card in general. Building the device or actually putting the shell around it was not that hard and a lot of fun. So for the best aesthetics, if you're getting the flash card, the SD2 SNES Pro, so if you're going to be putting this freaking thing in here, this looks the best because the shell is similar to, let's say, the cartridge shell and everything else. Thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing. Let me know what do you think of this. Would you consider like swapping the case? And it would be great to see you in the next video.